We're going to reschedule Ice Cube. We were going to do an interview with him. The 3-on-3 league that he has, they debut this season, this Saturday. And we'll talk to Cube. More phone calls as well. We bring in the Hall of Famer, Reggie Miller, Turner Sports NBA analyst. Tough day here, Reg, as try to trudge through this with the passing of Jerry West. And, of course, I know you had many encounters, conversations, if you'd like to share.
Yeah, I think I will start from the beginning and kind of go through the many times I've had the honor of just being in his presence. And it started at an early age for me when I was at UCLA, getting phone calls from Jerry West. Now, again, I'm 19, 20 years old, and remember those UCLA pro basketball pickup games that we would have at UCLA. He would always be around because at that time he was somewhat the architect of those Laker teams, those Showtime Laker teams. And just getting phone calls from him, watching my game, saying, well, you should think about doing this. I would have done that. Work on this. I mean, this is 19, 20-year-old Reggie. And then once I made it to the league, Arn Tellem, who was my agent, attorney at the time, good friends with Jerry West, we would have not only conversations, but meetups. I had a chance to interview him a few times when I had my own little local show in Indiana, and just to talk basketball, because he had such a brilliant basketball mind. He was always 2 or 3 steps ahead. So being a shooting guard and growing up in Los Angeles, or growing up in California, Riverside, but watching the Lakers and knowing the history of Jerry West, I was like a kid in a candy store. I hung on every word he said to me and have a chance to interview him and to get tips from him. I was a kid in a candy store. You couldn't tell me anything. And our real last encounter, because working with Turner, every time we would come do the Laker games or the Clipper games when he was working with the Clippers at the time, we got a chance to pick his brain. As soon as I walked into Staples, he was there. He would give me a scouting report, not only on his own team, because he never held anything back. He never held anything back, even on his own team. He would give me scouting reports on the Lakers, the Clippers, and who they were playing. That's how advanced he was. And, we have a term here in California right now. We're in June gloom. I know you can't see outside, but it's very misty, cloudy, ugly. And it's one of those days where when something like this happens, it's June gloom when you think about the loss. Just think about this. 2 years ago, it was Bill Russell. Less than a month ago, Bill Walton. This is another huge gut blow, and it's a little bit more personal for me because I've had a relationship with Jerry West. And when Kobe passed, I don't know if you guys remember that show. We were supposed to air a Laker game, and remember when we did that special at Staples on the day. It was Charles, Shaq, Ernie, myself, Dwayne Wade, and Jerry West. And I think this was the most raw I've ever seen Mr. West in terms of talking about Kobe and their relationships, because they were very close as well. We were like in the back and before, we were just all bawling, listening to Mr. West describe Kobe. So I'm sorry to be long-winded, but I want to give Mr. West the proper due he's earned and deserved.
Yeah, I said earlier that it's not overstating this when he's probably the most impactful person in the history of the NBA. When you look at the player, coach, GM, the logo, and, you've been doing it, he had been doing it at a very high level for, 7 decades. And that says an awful lot about, what he does, how he does it, how he did it, and passing away at the age of 86. there's no smooth way to make a segue, but I'll segue into the Lakers missing out on Dan Hurley. Why did that happen?
Number one, I don't think Dan was ready to leave UConn. And as much as they want to say, oh my God, how is he going to turn down 6 years, $70 million? Coming to California, the state taxes. So really, we're talking about 5 or 6 million of that 70 million. So I don't think he was ready. I think he's back-to-back champs at UConn. It was a great ploy by the Lakers. It was a great try.
But I think it was a great ploy by Dan Hurley. I think this was a leverage play on his part.
Absolutely. And I'm sure from what I've been hearing, UConn redid his deal too.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's great for him. But it kind of looks like the Lakers have a little bit of egg on their face. You know, here's the Lakers, 17 NBA championships. You got LeBron James, Anthony Davis, and you can't get this college coach. So a little bit of egg on their face. But again, I still believe it's a desirable job, a very difficult job now, but it's still the Lakers that you would be coaching.
But why is it difficult?
Because everything you do, every decision you make, every trade, non-trade, people want to know who's really running the Lakers. Is it Jeannie? Is it LeBron? Is it Rob Pelinka? I mean, there's a lot of things being thrown in this gumbo pot of being the Lakers. So there's a lot of drama that comes with it. But man, it's still a beautiful star. Sometimes you just got to shine it up a little bit to make it appeasing for someone to come coach them.
Okay. You can pick between the Lakers job and the Cavaliers opening.
I mean, if you're the Lakers, you're going to be on national TV 15 plus times. It's the Lakers.
Yeah, but you
now,
paused.
Are you telling me LeBron's going back to Cleveland?
No, but okay. He's there for the next at least 2 years. You're probably taking his son. The West is loaded. What's a better job? Because both are open right now.
You have an easier shot to get to a conference finals and maybe an NBA finals if you take the Cleveland job, if Donovan Mitchell resigns as well.
Okay.
We're assuming Mitchell's there. They have the two bigs, Darius Garland, who I heard there's some friction going on between him and Donovan. So I don't know about that. But there's a more desirable opportunity if you're Cleveland. It's a tough road if you're the Lakers.
Yeah, but what's that say about the Lakers' job that you look at Cleveland and say that may be more advantageous than going through being under the microscope with everything?
Look, you've got one newspaper, the Plains Dealer, I believe it's called, in Cleveland, and you've got a few internet sleuths. Big deal. For the Lakers, you just had Bill Plaschke on, right? You gotta hear Bill every single day talk about what the Lakers should be doing. And you've got the whole Laker nation, which is worldwide, after your throat after every single game. So that's why Cleveland would be better suited. And it depends on which coach is coming in. Is it a coach with experience that has heavy shoulders that can handle the criticism, or is it a newbie?
Okay, if it's a J.J. Redick.
For instance, if it's a J.J. Redick, that's a very difficult job as your first job to take on the Lakers.
I agree.
If it's James Borrego, who's been around the league as an assistant, he's been a head coach, he's been an associate head coach. I mean, he kind of knows the trials and tribulations of what's to come.
See, I think little things would bother J.J. Redick. I don't know Borrego. I know that he's been around. He had a little stint as a head coach before. But J.J., watching him when he's on the mothership, it feels like things bother him. Don't take the Laker job if things bother you. Like they'll eat you up. They'll eat you up.
They will, but look, if your BFF and close friend is LeBron James and you have an opportunity,
you're not even going to get credit if you win. LeBron's going to get credit.
Frank Vogel still gets credit for that bubble championship. So
not enough to keep him around, Reg.
That is true. I mean, look at Darvin Ham. They were just in the Western Conference Finals a year ago.
I know. We're talking
a year ago.
The Hall of Famer.
Now back in Milwaukee.
Reggie Miller, the Hall of Famer, joining us. All right. I keep waiting for Kyrie, the most talented player to ever play the game. It's time to be talented. Coming up tonight. If you're not talented tonight, you're not going to be around much longer. So what adjustments can Dallas make to get back in this series?
Number one, they got to push the pace. They got to run more. And it's, I was talking to a few people. Indiana has played Boston probably the best this postseason. And the reason why is it was all about pace. They pushed the pace and they kept forcing it down Boston's throat. The problem with Indiana is they didn't have any closers because Halliburton went down, and they were using guys that usually weren't in that role. TJ McConnell, Nembhard. They had great games, but they're not closers. They're not used to that. So that's why they lost in 4. But the pace, that was one thing that was consistent 3 of the 4 games, and that's why they were in 3 of the 4 games. Right now, the pace is too slow. And if Boston has a chance with Holiday, White, we don't know the availability of Porzingis, but Al Horford and Brown and Tatum, you get them in a half-court setting and they get a chance to adjust defensively and get those wingspans out, you're not going to be able to score enough. The pace has to be faster. Kyrie has to make quicker decisions, and you are 100% correct. Tonight's the game. They've got to win for their confidence, number one, but to make it a series. They win tonight, the series really can shift. People don't understand. People think this is going to be a gentleman's sweep. If Dallas wins tonight, things change. Well, it depends on how they win, by the way. But if they win tonight, the series does change mentally, because getting that first win, especially a finals win, it turns the key for you. And Kyrie, I hate to say it, he's got to be the catalyst. Both have to play well for Derrick Jones, PJ Washington, Gafford, Lively, for all of them to eat. If both of those guys, Luka and Kyrie, are not playing at a high level like they did in the West during the West run, those other guys can't eat. One or the other, it won't work in the finals versus Boston.
Also, with Kristaps Porzingis, on the outside looking in, when somebody says, well, why don't you get it shot up? Why don't you? I mean, you played 2 decades in the NBA. Like, how many times would you get something shot up so you could play in a big game? How often does that happen anymore?
I never got shot up, even in the conference finals versus Chicago when I twisted my ankle, and everyone's saying you should get shot up because you don't know the ramifications once that medicine wears off and the damage that will have been done. Having said all that, this is the NBA Finals. And Lord knows if you'll ever be there again. You assume Boston will because they're a young team.
Would you run the risk if you're Porzingis?
Probably not, because you're up 2-0 anyways. Now, if you're telling me I have a chance, let's say Dallas comes back and ties it 2-2, and you don't play these next 2 games. Well, you have an opportunity to come back in game 5, 6, and 7 if you take these next, because now remember, there's 2 days. They don't play again until Friday, and then they don't play again until Monday. So you would have some time to rest a little bit between games 3 and 4 and possibly come back for game 5. I wouldn't get shot up. I never would advise anyone to get shot up because you don't know about the ramifications afterwards. But always in the back of my mind, people saying, I will do whatever it takes to win. You're in the NBA Finals. Don't do it, but I'm sure it will have crossed his mind to get a shot.
Speaking of shots, everybody's got an opinion on Caitlin Clark not making the Olympic team. You got one?
Well, who are you going to take off? Before I say this, who would you take off that team and put her on? And then we could have the debate from there.
I wouldn't put her on. That was my argument is, who am I taking off? I don't think she's one of the 12 best players right now. And these players are veterans. Sabrina Ionescu had to earn her way onto this, had to wait a couple of years.
Yeah.
You got 27-year-olds, 28-year-olds. You got Taurasi, who's, 40 or 41. I get it. She's not – I think she could use a break. I don't think she's one of the 12 best players. And people say, well, you got a chance to grow the game. How are you going to grow the game if she's on the bench? She's not going to play. Like, she can't make the roster. Now you're going to put her on. Now she's one of the top 2 players on the team. She would be sitting. She would be like Christian Laettner was on the Dream Team, not playing very much. Maybe you tune in to watch warm-ups.
Theodore, mic drop. Everything you just said is a mic drop. And I absolutely love everything that Caitlin Clark stands for and what she has done for the women's game. She has taken it to new heights. And on top of that, she has Hoosier blood in her now because she's a Fever player. Having said all that, you're right. She's not one of the 12 best. And on top of that, I think they did her a disservice by naming her early on like she was part of the top 15 or 20. That was a disservice to her because it got her fan base all riled up. She automatically should make the team. And looking at this roster, it's arguably one of the greatest ones they've had. By the way, people, they've won 7 gold medals in a row. So for everyone saying, oh, they need her, not really they need her. And in terms of growing the women's game, it will continue to grow. She's just not one of the top 12 players. And it's such a disservice for her because she's in a lose-lose situation, whatever she comes out and says, because if she's like, I should have been on it, it makes her look bitter. If she's like, you know what? Hopefully in 4 years, I'll be on that. Oh, you're being soft. You should be more. It's ridiculous. Give this young woman a break. Please give her a break.
I wonder about, her frame. You were very slight when you played. And that, welcome to, you played in a very, very physical time in the NBA. I don't know what she can do to get, stronger. Like, is it just simply going into the weight room? How much will that help her going into year 2?
That will help tremendously. I wasn't huge in the weight room. I did a lot of natural weight, like pull-ups and push-ups and sit-ups to get my body strong. Her best defense will be the school of hard knocks. All the times that you've seen her getting stripped and knocked down, every time she's driven to the hole and been taken out the air, that's how her mind and body will get strong. Yes, the weight room will help, but the school of hard knocks is always the best lesson. Me getting my head knocked off by Lambier and Mahorn and all those dudes, you learn. You learn to adjust. You learn to get stronger on your own. Pull-ups, push-ups, sit-ups, get your body naturally strong. Trust me, look at her numbers as a rookie. She's averaging almost 17, with 5.5 dimes, a couple steals. I mean, she's having a very good, solid rookie year. Just people, please, stop it with the whole Olympic thing and I'm going to boycott the women. Really? Who would you take off that team?
Here's the thing, Reg.
Those women are ballers.
The people who are upset about Caitlin Clark not on the Olympic team were not going to watch the women's team to begin with. Now you put Caitlin on there, now they want to watch it. So they're not even it's not a true fan. I mean, right. They're kind of faux fans. Would I like to see her? Yeah, but I wanted to earn it. And those players will accept her when she's earned it. And they'll know when she's earned it. And maybe that's in 4 years in L.A. Hopefully it is. She's great for the sport. She's grown the game. The reason why people are watching the WNBA is because of her. These audiences, whether it's TV, whether it's in person, she's bringing people to the game. That's growing the game. Sitting on the bench at the Olympics is not growing the game. And that's unfortunate, but I don't think she's earned that over these other players. Just don't. Mic drop there. Thank you, Reg. It's a Sharpie drop is what it is. Thank you, Reg.
I appreciate you, Theodore, and always your knowledge, my Danettes. I love y'all. Let's do this.
Reggie Miller, NBA on TNT, the Hall of Fame. We'll take a break. Last call for phone calls, what we learned, what's in store tomorrow, right after this.